Good morning. How's everybody? For those of you that are just waking up or haven't had a chance to listen to the news yet, we had a 7.4 earthquake in Colombia this morning. It was pretty far away. It was 66 miles underground. Uh, what we felt was a rolling, shaking action that went as I looked out the window, which is basically facing east, left to right, uh, travel through here and make a lot of noise and scare the shit out of everybody. But the dogs didn't react. Nobody's dog reacted that I know of, which is highly unusual, which means they weren't scared. So my wife was petrified. She was yelling and screaming and crying and praying and hey, listen, she can't walk, I can't walk, we're dead if it really happens. So, I didn't get excited about it. It's the third time I've been through one of these. They don't get any easier to go through, but I don't get scared. I kind of fatalistic approach to it. The first one I was in Los Angeles when the highway collapsed and everything else. I was about 25 or so miles away from the highway that collapsed. There I experienced a very unusual situation. First, there was a sound similar to a tank or freight train rolling down the street outside the house, and it shook everything pretty hard. Then there was silence, but when you opened the front door and you looked out, the street was well, you could see the shockwave going through like this, going through the street. The street was raising up, had waves in it of about 6 to 8 inches high. Didn't break the road though. I guess it was made elastically for that, just for the earthquakes that they have in California. But that was pretty scary experience. This is my first experience with a major earthquake, and I wanted out of California. My brother would have died had it been bad. There was no way he was getting out. Big, strong guy. He had cancer. He was bedridden. I had to get out of California. I had a plane reservation, and I had to come back right away. And my mother was hysterical in New Jersey. I made sure he was all right. Everybody was okay. They drove me to the airport. LAX was closed. I went out of Orange County, but I was flying out of Orange County Airport, and that was still open. So I managed to get out on time. And I got to tell you something. That was not a pleasant experience for me. Didn't enjoy it at all. The second one was here about 10 years ago, I think, maybe less. When you're not doing anything every day, you kind of get years and days and months and everything roll together. But I'm going to estimate it about 10 years ago because I was living in the 10th floor, not the 4th floor. And building shook pretty bad. The fan fell off the table and everything because you're up. The higher up you are, the more you get this action. You feel it, the whipping action. And that scared me pretty good. But again, I knew I wasn't going anywhere, My dog was with me at the time. He snored. It's a different dog. That was Antonio. And he didn't get upset. She didn't get upset until the fan fell over, and then she got very upset. But this is the way it is. It's and then today I was walking on my way to the living room to have breakfast. Getting up, just got out of bed. And my wife says, I said, what's that? Has an alarm on her phone, and it went off. I said, what's that? She says, earthquake! And she got all excited and nervous and everything. Of course she did. She can't move. So she was scared shitless, and I understood that, but there's nothing you can do about it. What's going to happen is happening. I get kind of fatalistic in situations like that. Not the first time I've been close to death, won't be the last. Close. Close is cool. Death ain't so exciting. But when I finally went outside, there were a lot of people sitting outside the building, scared, talking to each other, holding hands. I walked to the top of the hill with Lucy and I. She's fine. She's not being bothered by it at all. And get up to the hill, and there's cars parked up to the top of the hill from the church. The only time you see that many people at the church is Easter Sunday. You know, that's the big day for church people down here. And they were all, and I doubt if half of them were from that church. They just, saw a church and they were driving down the hill. You know, most of those people probably don't go to church on Sunday. Judging by the amount of people that were there, and then the amount of people that are there on a normal Sunday, those people don't go to church on Sunday. It was like in the same situation existed in the Latin American church in Morristown. I took my wife to all the time. It was always Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday, you couldn't get in the door. During the regular Sunday, half the building was empty. So I found that very strange. Christmas was not a big deal. Christmas, they didn't do midnight mass. Well, nobody does midnight mass anymore. It became too deep. Criminals took care of that. But it was, I don't think they even do it at St. Pat's anymore. I don't know. Anyhow, we're all okay. There's no damage here. There are roughly, where the earthquake took place, the center of it, there are about 20 people, so far 25 people dead. Look at the buildings, they're not earthquake proof. They're old buildings that were built before I was born, some of them. And concrete just isn't holding up. It's concrete mixed in a bucket and then slapped on the walls. They weren't major buildings. They were small buildings that were built with a lot of concrete rather than and not too much steel support for it. So I feel bad for those people, but it's the worst kind of, it's slow and painful. It's the worst kind. Not something I wish on anybody, not even Donald Trump. So that was my morning. But if you're interested, I'm fine. Everything's okay. Where I live is okay. We had some 28-story buildings around here, and there wasn't a crack in any of them that I could see unless they're on the inside. So we came through it okay. If you were concerned, I thank you. If you didn't know about it, well, that's life. Sleep through it. Most everybody does sleep through national disasters that happen early in the morning. All right, let's get going here. Trump dismissed the climate change. Trump dismisses anything that disagrees with whatever he wants to do. Trump disagrees with, that's why he disagrees with wind power. He wanted them to destroy the wind power farm outside his golf course in Scotland because it destroyed the view. What a schmuck. Kills birds. Yes, does it kill birds? If you build it in the center of their traffic pattern, yes, it will hurt birds occasionally because they fly at night. And some birds don't see that well at night. They just fly by instinct. So yes, it does kill some birds, unfortunately. But like the butterflies down here, the migration of the monarchs, when you put a building in their way, they find a way to go around it. And you see thousands of butterflies go around the skyscrapers that are up on the mountain. They come up the mountain from down below, come up. As soon as they get by the edge of the buildings, they go and they go around the building into the direction where they're going. So they learn, but Trump doesn't. Trump considers climate change to be an inconvenience for him. Global warming is an inconvenience for him, but actually he doesn't mind because he plays golf. He just wants to make sure there's enough water to water his golf course, and that's not going to happen pretty soon, But they're the last place that they stop that they ration for water. Are the golf clubs, country clubs, golf courses. They're the last place that gets water restrictions on them because they're the rich and famous people hang out. God forbid Trump can't have a swallow of water and throw the bottle in the back of his golf cart, and water spills out everywhere. He doesn't care. He's a low life. The denying is he doesn't like science because science disagrees with his voodooism. His theories are right. Science is wrong. He can't prove his theory, and he can't prove the other people's theory wrong. But he says I'm right, and that's all that matters. If he says it, he's right. If he says it, he's probably the dumbest thing on the planet. Don't do what he says, folks. Really. Let's see. We talked about the earthquake this morning already. Let's see. Oh, he's deporting the Venezuelans that are in the country right now back to Venezuela, which has no means of support for 100,000 or whatever it is that he's deporting. They don't have a support system for these people. These people are. That country is destitute right now because of the two earthquakes that they had back to back. They haven't got a clue as to what to do. There's no real form of government assistance available. I don't think there's a real government down there right now. So, but he's going to send him back there. That's the humane. He's being humane. Actually, with him, he probably is being humane because he could send them to the Congo or something like that, which he's done with people that don't live there. He doesn't care so long as he gets rid of them. It's going to come back to haunt him, or us, I should say. He's like me. He's not going to be around forever, a whole lot longer. Although they say only the good die young, so he'll probably live to be 100. Mentally incompetent. He's already mentally incompetent. I don't know. Do you consider attention deficit disorder to be incompetency? I don't know. It's treatable. They can give him Adderall, which I think they probably do give him some sort of drug boost before he goes out and speaks a lot of times in public, so that he remembers to read the script that they wrote for him. But he's been going off script his whole life, so it's hard to tell what part of his speeches is him going off script or his just mind goes, his mind farting. Well, what else is happening? The football season's, the preseason's here. I watched the game over the weekend. Thursday or Friday last week, I think it was. It was actually a pretty good game. Ended with Carolina winning the game, and as time ran out, it was just quarterback draw. Really, it worked really good. It was nice. I not that excited about it for some reason this year. I don't know why. I think because of all the gambling influences that I see there, that I just can't honestly say the game is honest anymore. The referees control a game, the momentum of the game, and various other items during the game, and they can determine a lot of times the outcome of the game. But I don't know. What I think they like to see the most is one of the biggest bets they have besides parlays is the over-under. How many points are going to be totally scored in the game, because people find that they don't have to root for a team when they do that. They're rooting for both. They're just rooting for a great game or a great defensive battle or something like that. They're not really rooting for a team. And that seems to be the big bet nowadays. So, Anyhow, that's it for me today. As I said, we're all right here. There are where the earthquake is about I don't know, it's 100 or so miles west of here. More than that, I think, and they're suffering from that. They have some, like I said, at last count was 25 dead. Uh, Mother Nature's pissed at us, folks. But I'll be around, and I'll be back tomorrow. And if there's if anything else happens with the earthquakes and stuff like that, I'll be on the air later. But right now, I don't see that, and I just see you saying, "Sayonara, folks. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great, great, great day. Be safe."